In this episode, we interview one of our guests, Josh Ellinger. Some of you may know him as Biggie from the radio show Two Guys Named Chris. And in this show, we talk about how he's seen over a 100-pound weight loss success starting at over 700 pounds. He's working towards bariatric surgery, but he talks about how that's not his endpoint. In fact, that's just another new beginning, and how he's been able to not follow a diet approach, but create a healthy lifestyle that he plans to do forever, and how that he has found that to not be overwhelming like it sounds. So there's a lot of really great tips and strategies to be had from what Josh himself has seen, and he's had no shortage of struggles or stressors, and yet he's been able to stay on the path. So stay tuned to look forward to hear what he has to say. Hey there, David Chesworth coming to you from Hilton Head Health on the beautiful Hilton Head Island, and we have another amazing health talk episode today. He came to Hilton Head Health for a little bit. He's continuing his path back home, and he's seeing great success. So we brought him on today to share what's going well, what roadblocks has he come across, and to just share his success so far. Without further ado, welcome, Josh.
Hi, everybody. Hey, David. Yeah.
Did I miss anything? Is there anything else about you that?
I think you summed it up pretty well there. That was pretty good.
Okay, great, perfect. So, well, I guess we'll just jump right into it. So, I'm wondering, Josh, if you can just tell us a little bit more about, how your journey got started and what brought you to Hilton Head Health, and maybe we start there.
Okay. Well, it's been almost, actually, believe it or not, it's been almost a year since I was there. Time flies. I know it'd be almost a year that I checked in. So, in that time, well, first off, how I got there was basically hitting my rock bottom weight-wise. Couldn't get out of bed, couldn't move. Walking was just, when we first met, David, I think I could walk 10, 20 feet maybe without getting out of breath. So I found you guys amazingly and decided to give it a shot and checked in. And in the 4 weeks I was there, I lost 52 pounds. So now, of course, that was a year ago. Then people wonder, how you doing? Well, since I've been home, I've now lost an additional, 64 pounds. So I'm down Well, I'm terrible at math. What's that?
116 or something
total,
like that?
Yeah, so I'm down 116 total from where I was a year ago.
That's amazing.
Now, my story, of course, is a little bit different because my weight was so extremely high when I got there. It was well over 700 pounds. I believe it was 728. I'm still working towards the weight loss surgery. That's my ultimate goal, is to get the bariatric surgery. And that's something that's probably a little different than other people. Some people come in and just, want to lose 20, 30 pounds. And that my goal is truly to get to a weight to have the bariatric surgery safely and continue my weight loss further, which I'm basically now I'm qualified for it now, actually. So I'm at the point I need to be, which is an amazing feeling.
That is amazing. And before I ask the next question, I just want to point out that, sometimes there's this the stigma around surgery for some people where they might feel maybe, embarrassed to share that they've either had one or want to get it. But the advancements in surgeries and the efficacy of them have come so far. And for many people, it could be the best thing to do. And so in your case, where are you on that path, and how far away are you from getting there?
Well, I've now at least qualified weight wise, which is good. There's still more steps to take, obviously. It'll still be, it could be, well, insurance always plays a role, doesn't it?
Sure.
It'll be another 6 months or so. My thing is, which I've been able to do so far, is keeping the positive mindset and keep going in the right direction. My body now has times where it does plateau, and I talk, you and I talk frequently, and sometimes, I will go that week or two where I won't lose anything, and it does kind of mess with your mind, but you just, the one thing that I've been able to do, thanks to your help and Hilton Head Health's help, is keep the positive mindset to keep going. You're going to have these moments where you plateau. Don't worry about it. Keep the positive thoughts, and that's how I've been able to do what I've done in a year.
So what strategies have worked for you because you're so right. Sometimes, we've talked through that. You've hit that week or two where no weight loss, or you're kind of, fluctuating. How do you keep that positive mindset?
For me, I mean, I guess seeing the success that I had and knowing I can do it is one way for sure. Many of the different things that you guys taught me there about mindfulness and keeping that positive thought and understanding my body better has been a tremendous help as well.
Yeah.
Uh, and the one thing about you guys is you're so just nice and kind in how you treat everyone. So it's not like it never felt like a diet program to me or anything like that. I was losing weight, but I was also healing myself inside too. So there was a big help
Yeah.
there too. So, lots of little, I mean, we've all talked about the lots of little sayings and things along the way. But you know, my favorite one is still, if it's in my house, it's in my head, which has helped me avoid a lot of bad things coming in. I've really just been able to, and of course now I've done this for a year now, so I've really just been able to fight my way through any bad times mentally,
Yeah.
with support too, from my family and my girlfriend and everyone. So,
Yeah.
but also, I mean, seeing the results I saw there is just as it just it's a catalyst to keep going, and keep knowing I can do it.
Yeah. Well, and also I remember a few of those times where you either plateaued or kind of fluctuated up and down. And I think all of those times something unique was happening. For instance, I remember you had a huge transition with the software at work that was just taking up so much extra time during one of them. And then, some another instance, you maybe had a vacation to Florida, and just, or you got sick with something.
Yeah.
And so all of these bumps in the road, you might say, maintaining your weight is often a huge success during, a high risk, high stressful situation. Whereas, many people might hit a bump like that and feel like because either they maintained or gained a little bit that they should just give up. And that you never gave up. And did you ever have that thought cross your mind? Was that ever an option? Or how did you overcome that?
No, no, I had worked too hard.
Yeah.
I know, because I had worked too hard at that point, and
Yeah.
results. So I wasn't gonna ever give up. I did learn
Yeah.
times. I'm definitely, my body responds to stress. That is one thing I learned about myself.
Yeah.
Is I am somebody that I never thought of that does respond to a stressful situation, like a couple weeks at work that really stress. My body really does lock on to that, and I never thought of it in that way, but it really did. It responded. I have a stress response, and it wasn't that I wanted to eat more. It was just that almost my body just kind of almost shut down around me. Just didn't want
Yeah.
to burn calories or do anything. No, I mean, I stayed at this point. I'd worked too hard, so that's one of my motivating factors too. Is that I've really come such a long way. I don't want to go backwards.
Hilton Head Health is not your first approach at living a healthier lifestyle. Tell me a little bit about things you've tried in the past and the differences or similarities that you experienced through Hilton Head Health.
Well, for one, I mean, I've tried you name it, Weight Watcher. I mean, you literally could probably Google weight loss, ways, and I've done them all. Um, Hilton Head Health is different because of the approach of things. Obviously, um, you learn about yourself. There's much more. I mean, I found out that's why I don't even like talking about as much about weight loss, where it helped me find myself, which of course turned into weight loss as well. But the approach is different. The mindfulness, thinking about food in a different way, thinking about how you take in food in a different way, um, the different recipes. I mean, the amount of thing. It's amazing to me just the food I eat now versus what I ate when before I went there. I mean, it's just truly a whole mind and body experience that made things way different. It's not just a it's not just an out of the box diet, if that makes sense. Like, you're not
Right.
just you're not given a book and said, here, read this, and read this first chapter, that's going to tell you this, and here's your foods you don't eat, here's the foods you do eat, and that don't eat those, because we all know, I always say, anyone given a list of foods not to eat and starving themselves for 2 weeks can lose weight, but what is that really going to do? I mean,
Right.
I used to go to Weight Watchers and then lose weight, starve myself for a week, eat at weigh in at Weight Watchers, and then go eat a giant Mexican meal. Like, it's just like, so. I mean, that's one of the things that to me is different about Hilton Head Health is the overall mind body experience that you learn about yourself too.
Yeah. Well, I love the way that you described, the food piece, because you're so right. A lot of it's so easy to get caught in that diet mindset, and it's because you're exactly right. In terms of weight loss, diets absolutely work. If you restrict your eating, if you don't eat this, you do eat that, and you stick with it long enough, it will work. And those are often really great tools to use if you're an actor, or preparing for a photo shoot, preparing for a movie. But it's a kind of a different ball game when you're just trying to find a healthier lifestyle that you can sustain for a long time, because those list of foods that you can't or shouldn't eat, you really aren't ever going to eat those again in your whole life. Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what can you talk a little about what foods you are eating, and or if there are any foods you aren't eating and that you don't miss or that you do miss, or
Well, I'll tell you.
just talk to me about what you're currently doing with that.
Well, I'll tell you too. The one thing, this just shows a lot about the approach at Hilton Head Health. My weight loss there was never a giant number, and then it just stopped. I lost 16 pounds the first week, 16 pounds the second week, 10 pounds the third. It was a continuous. Of course, your body after a while slows down, but it was not like I didn't lose 38 pounds the first week and then 2 pounds the next week. So my body was slowly changing itself. It's
Yes.
this drastic cut that made such a difference.
So basically, about 2% in 1 week of body weight was lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's exactly the thing. That it was this continuous loss. It wasn't this drastic, which is how I do before. I'd lose, you know, 32 pounds in 1 week. Well, yeah, of course, I was starving myself. I would lose 3 pounds the next week, and then I give up, because it was.
Right.
Then that's how it was. Um, as far as foods, I mean, obviously, I do a lot of cooking for myself. I've become much better at cooking fish, believe it or not, in the last year. That was one thing I was never
Ah,
good at. So I've been able to cook more salmon. I mean, I know salmon's like the most basic fish, but man, that scared me. So um, I've been able to cook more fish. I don't eat a ton of red meat, and that happened naturally, believe it or not. I might have red meat once a week. It just kind of left my diet. You know, um,
huh.
some people would probably say I stick to a more Mediterranean style diet, and I do. More, and still a big fan of chicken. I also eat low sodium. That's one thing that's
Mhm.
last year. So um, everything I eat now is very, no salt, no salt added. I wasn't a big
Mhm.
salt person anyways, but I'm more conscious of not eating
Sure.
canned foods. I mean, canned foods have, everything has sodium in it. That's one thing I'm
Yeah.
learning. But
Right.
um, you can avoid certain things and cutting out some of the canned foods. Vegetable. I'm much more a fruits and vegetables person. I try to get a daily dose of fruit in, and then vegetables, of course. And I count my, I count everything. I'm try to be more regimented. I definitely count. I try to sodium's hard to count, but I try to keep it at a decent number. Calories the same way. I weigh out. I have my little food scale. I weigh things on. It's just becomes kind of second nature now to do that kind of stuff, and what I eat. So, my girlfriend and I battle quite a bit because she is a salt person.
Ah.
Uh, so sometimes we make separate meals, or
Gotcha.
she'll make her part, and then I just let her salt up what she wants.
She can season to her liking.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So, um,
Well, good. More salt for her then. You don't need it, right?
exactly. That's what I always tell her. I'm like, go ahead, have at it. And I'm looking at
Yeah.
the sea salt thing right now, like, good lord. So,
So some of the things you just talked about. So if you kind of mentioned, if you were to label what you're eating, it resembles the Mediterranean style diet. You have a lot of fruits and veggies. You're having a lot of fish. You're not having as much red meat. You're also having significantly less salt. Some people might be listening to this and be like, "Wait a minute, that sounds like a diet." What's different about your approach as opposed to the traditional diet approach?
I don't think it's a diet though. I guess for
Mhm.
me, this is just how I eat now.
Okay.
My body's adjusted to it, which is still why the weight loss surgery will be significant for me.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't just look if I want a burger, I'm gonna go have the burger. I'll go eat a burger if I'm in the mood for it. One of the big things that's different for me, and one thing we really talked a lot about at Hilton Head Health is If I want a burger, I'm gonna go have it, but I'm not gonna ruin the rest of the day. I'm not. If I want a burger at lunch, I'm gonna have a burger at lunch. I'm not gonna then throw in the towel and be like, okay, well, I'm also gonna have fried chicken for dinner and ice cream because, well, that burger I had cheese on it, and that hadn't, that was a high fat burger, and this, and so I don't do that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I still allow myself to go out to eat. I will look at a menu before I go. I've become king of the looking online at the menus. So no, I mean, and I'm not scared of food, if that makes sense. I don't live my life fearful of, I'm
Yeah.
not going to go to somebody's wedding and be like, well, I'm just can't eat there because I don't know what. No, I just take every situation that it comes, and that's a lot to do with the knowledge I got at Hilton Head Health and learn from you guys.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that nothing is off limits, but what you've done is your staple foods, the foods you have most often, align with your health goals, and for the most part, you also enjoy them. So you don't feel like you're on a restrictive diet,
No,
and you don't ever feel like there's any taboo foods. If you want to have a burger, you're gonna go have a burger. And if
no,
you're at a wedding or if you're at an event and you don't have as much control over the food,
yeah,
you give yourself a little bit more flexibility with what you can have.
absolutely. And as far as cooking for myself, I have learned a lot of the. Actually, I bought the cookbook. There's a cookbook you guys have. You can make things taste, and that's one thing I learned from the chef there too. Making things healthy but can still taste good, and that's
Yeah.
what I really, and like we've talked about, it's been a year for me, so I have a lot of set in things that I'm used to that may seem scary at first to other people, but it becomes a habit, and you get
Yeah.
used to things, and you find ways to enjoy those things. And no, I still allow myself something. I I'm getting ready to go to Florida and see my family now, and there will be times where we go out to eat.
Hmm.
I'm not scared of those. I'll make the decision when I get there. I know what I can order and what I should order, and if the day hits me where I say, hey, I instead of getting grilled fish, tacos, I want fried fish tacos. Well, okay, but then I'm not going to turn around and then go, well, now I'm going to go eat, two ice cream cones because the day's already messed up. And that's my mindset. And I'll be honest, that took a lot to get to that mindset of work and realizing and not beating myself up and realizing it's okay to do that.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that is a knee-jerk response for many people when they feel like they, slipped up or fell off the wagon. And it sounds like it took some work and effort for you.
Yes.
Was there like a day or a moment when you realized that it wasn't as much of a knee-jerk, or can you talk to that about how you
Yeah.
got to that point?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I think it's the fact that when I went on vacation where it wasn't just to a family member's house where I could still control it. It was like we went to a hotel where everything was eating out.
Hmm.
And I was able to eat out for those, basically 3.5 days and make smart choices while eating out and came back and still lost 3 pounds that week. I was like, okay, I went on vacation. I still lost weight. I was able to make the smart decisions. I didn't miss anything. I didn't skip, I wasn't missing out on, there was birthday cake, so I still had some cake, but at the restaurants, I made the smart decisions. But one time I wanted a steak, so I got a steak.
Yeah.
I think for me, red meat has almost become my like, kind of like it feels like a cheat meal almost, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Don't need a ton of red meat. So if I have like a burger, a real burger, not a turkey burger or chicken burger, that's more of a treat for me than anything. So,
Gotcha. That's a
I
special occasion.
yeah, but I'd say that trip was really a big thing for me where I realized that, hey, I can still do this even if I'm forced into these eating out scenarios. Because I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. It's going to be this. No, I
Yeah.
was. So,
You're fine.
yeah, that was a big moment for me. And that really helped change my mindset to, oh, okay, we can do what we need to do anytime and still allow myself to have some fun.
Gotcha. So for in your case, it was going through an experience
Yeah,
where you didn't have an all or nothing
exactly.
action,
Yes,
and it yielded good results for you.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So you mentioned it's been a year, almost a year, because I think you were here in May of last
Like,
year.
yeah, it'll be in about 5 days, will be the day I checked in.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost a year then. In that year, what have been some big changes for you physically, emotionally? How would you compare yourself today versus a year ago?
Physically, just even though I'm still big, just moving so much better. I mean,
Mhm.
just the movement, my body, how it feels. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with the fact that exercising and things helps keep me loose. But I mean, mentally, I think mentally where I was last year to this year, night and day. I mean, last year I thought, I was at the end. That's how I felt. I was like, laying in bed, could not get out of bed, didn't want to get out of bed, thinking about just literally just using the bathroom there on myself because I didn't want to get out of bed. Just thinking how, basically, not really thinking I want to die, but just thinking this is, there's nowhere left to go. To now,
Rock bottom.
yeah, just a totally different mindset, even in a year. When I look, and I'll just show you, a year ago I couldn't get out of bed. You know, now a year later, it's like have a girlfriend who I love dearly. She drives me crazy.
That's
But
when you know.
yeah, but it's like, I have a girlfriend. I have a life again. It's and that happened in a year, and that mindset changed in that year. Am I still on a journey? 1,000%. Do I still have a long way to go? 1,000%, yes. But I'm doing it, and I know I can do it, and that's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, and what I think is really neat about what you just described is there's been a lot of success through being on the journey, and the journey is not over yet. Another easy trap that we see people fall into is, I'll be happy when I finish. But you have a girlfriend, you're getting out of bed, you're doing things, you're going on vacations, you're not quote unquote finished or there yet. But you're still enjoying life along the way.
Yeah, no, and I know this probably sounds scary for some people, but there is no finish to this for me. I'll for the rest of my life, even after I have the bariatric surgery, that's going to be a drastic change for my lifestyle, even from where it is now. And life is an ever evolving thing. I don't think I'm not going to reach an end point where I'm like, okay, well, this is it. I'll reach a point where I'm like, I've accomplished what I want to accomplish,
Yeah.
but maintain that, and I'll have to keep that going. And it's never going to be it's never going to be a stopping point. So,
Right.
and that's one thing about, even, and like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say the last year has all been roses for me. I've battled through some mental struggles and some things, but I was given the tools by you guys to do that. And now I have the tools that I need, and I know how to handle certain situations on my own now and do things.
Yeah.
So to overcome those, any type of, issues or anything that gets in the way.
I think that's the reality. You mentioned you don't want to, intimidate or overwhelm by saying this is a forever thing, but I think that's the reality that has to kick in, um, for people to realize that really the difference between weight loss and weight management, or just getting healthier and staying healthier. It's as you mentioned, actually quite easy to lose weight, but can be very hard to maintain the weight you want to have, especially if you're on a restrictive diet. But what you've discovered for yourself is a lifestyle that you enjoy. The foods you're eating are very enjoyable. You're active. You're enjoying your physical activity. You're enjoying life, and it's not that it's easy, but that it's far more enjoyable than restricting yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's, when I was there, you guys would always talk about kind of like the protective bubble. And
Yeah.
you're right, it is feel like a very protective bubble, but you guys are great at making sure that when you leave that bubble, you're ready.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I take with me. I still have, I have, the magnet. I'm looking up at it now, the progress, not perfection magnet.
Love it.
You guys have little sayings and just different things that I still carry with me and use and think about. And that's one thing that's, to me, different from a diet too. Yes, like you said, you can lose weight. Going to you guys was such a different experience though, because it's not just about the diet. It's not just about what you're eating. It's just a total workover of your mind and body.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago about, you said, it's not like I haven't had my challenges or had my struggles. I'm wondering if you can shed light on what some of those challenges and struggles have been.
The stresses of work, the stresses of some family members being sick and things. I myself had to be hospitalized for a short time. Never dealt with that before. Um, so I mean, there was struggles like that you just kind of come to, and I was able to overcome those, and that was the big thing. Like I said, I learned a lot about stress as stress kind of, you know, works works against my body, which is something I never knew. So, um, but I've overcome those challenges. I've learned to overcome those challenges. I never lost sight. I never lost sight of the goal, of the big goal for me. That's the big thing too.
So, what what circumstances? Or, so I guess you mentioned that you have learned about yourself that
Yeah,
stress impacts your body in a way that feels counter to your goal. What are some signs, or what are you're more aware of that now? How do you how did you discover that?
basically because I started. I mean, I discovered because as much as I weighed myself on the weeks I was having really stressful weeks, whether it be work or home, I was not losing weight. I mean, it just no matter what I did, and it wasn't
Mhm.
like I'd suddenly gorge myself or anything. It just for me, I just can tell for me to lose weight and be, I need to keep my stress level to a minimum, and and focus more in when those stressful weeks come. I just kind of buckled down mentally more than anything, and gave the old, which sounds cliche, this too shall pass, which everything does. You just see it like, okay, let me deal with this situation, then we'll move on, we'll be back to normal. So I've tried to really implement that kind of mindset,
Mhm.
which has helped. It's still, it's still been a stressful, couple months, but I'm still losing weight, so that's the good thing. You just kind of get past it, you move on, you deal with it.
Gotcha, gotcha. The this too shall pass mindset has been helpful for
Yeah.
you.
There's
Yeah,
no, I'd like to say there's no special, I wish there was a special key to something I could give, but
yeah,
frankly, I'm just the type now that I just am like, okay, I'm
yeah.
working past this. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've just made the decision that this is the path you're on, and if you make a wrong turn, it's not a reason to stop embarking on the path. In fact, it's just, how do I get back on the path now?
Exactly. That's just it. Just
Yeah.
like off, like you said, it's a wrong turn. It's not a U.
Yes. Yeah.
So wrong turn I can fix. I'm not U-turning going back to say the
Yeah.
old.
Exactly. In fact, Bob gives that analogy. For those of you listening, if you don't know who Bob is, he's our director of education. He gives that analogy in one of his classes. He goes, "How many of you have been on a road trip before?" And everyone raises their hand. And then he says, "How many of you have made a wrong turn on a road trip?" Most people keep their hand up. And he goes, "How many of you, after making that wrong turn, turned around and went home?"
Yeah.
And everyone puts their hand down. He goes, "I know it's a little, it's not a perfect analogy because a road trip is not as personal
Yeah.
as maybe a health and weight loss journey, but it's the same idea."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, that works for, like we talked about, having one, burger, and
yeah,
don't, you're not going to have a burger at lunch and then be like, no, forget it. Well, I'm just going to eat everything I can the rest of the day for absolutely no reason.
yes. So the path that you are on, that Josh is on, what if you could paint a picture for me of what that I know there's not really a destination, but
Yeah.
what's your vision of where that path is leading you? What does your life look like, feel like? What is Josh capable of doing?
For me, I just want to get to a point where my weight is, I don't, I really want, I don't, I guess no one's, honestly, no one's really asked me like, where's that final, because I never think of it in that way. I just want to get to a point where my weight is not something that is thought about, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like, still at my size, because like I said, I'm still a very big person. Everything I think about is still calculated. Even though I'm moving better, what's the restaurant going to be like? What's the seats going to be like? What's this going to be like? How far is, I want to get to the point where I don't think about things like that. Like I my weight is no longer an issue on
Hmm.
anything. That's what I want. And it's not about, you know, and I always, people always say the cliche things. I'm doing this for my friends and my family. I'm not. I'm doing this for me. I will be a happier, better person for them when I achieve my goals. But I just want to get to where my weight is not an issue. It's not thought about. It's not asked about. It's not, something that's a part of my everyday life.
Yeah.
I just want to live. like I,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
And maybe a better question to have asked, because you're right, it's not like a destination, but
yeah
you're on a path, you're moving a direction. Maybe a better question would have been, what treasures would you like to collect along the way? And it sounds like, not thinking about weight,
yeah.
being continuing to be active. Um, what else?
I mean, obviously, the not thinking about weight, continue to be active. I mean, I'm not somebody, I don't. I'm older, so I don't think I'm ever having children, so I don't really have that kind of goal.
Okay.
You know, I want to stick around for my nieces who are still young, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, but really, I just, I just want to feel and be just a healthier person overall,
Yeah.
and I'm working that way. I am definitely. I mean, night and day, like I said, from a year ago. So,
Yeah.
still going to be going, and it's still going to be going for a long time. So there'll be obstacles ahead, but I don't ever want to have a. I actually don't ever want to get to a point where I really feel comfortable. I know that sounds stupid, but I don't want to, because a lot of people don't realize you can have the bariatric surgery, and depending on which one you have, that weight can come back. So
Sure.
it's really not a it's not a the train doesn't pull into the bariatric center and you get off and you stay skinny. That's not how
Right.
it works. You know,
Right.
the work, and they will tell you up front, the work is just beginning. This isn't something that's going to be a, oh well, well, I'm good now. I'm just going to head on back out and live my life as a skinny person. No, that's not how that works. Um, so for me, it's just like I said, I just don't want my weight to be a factor in my everyday life that I lead.
And a benefit that you have created for yourself is for 1+ years prior to your surgery, you've been developing and strengthening habits that will just only help you when the surgery is over, and you won't be starting from scratch and losing all this weight from the surgery and then trying to figure out the habits, which
Yes,
could potentially be demotivating, depending on the scenario. But for you, it'll almost be like, yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do.
yes, very much so. The habits I'm in now and the habits I learned there have very much prepared me
Yeah.
for that. Now, of course, even compared to what I eat now, I will not be able to eat nearly the amount. But food wise, I've broken a lot of those that people really struggle with, a lot of the sugar issues, a lot of the salt issues. That's the kind of stuff that I've already broken and feel good about, and know and feel good about I'm ready for that part of things.
Yeah.
Still going to be a big change, mostly, like I said, volume wise, but I've broken so many of the bad habits that I've heard in these, because you go to seminars and things, and you always hear people say, "Well, I can't give up," blah blah blah, and I was like, "Well, you have to." I've broken up. I feel like I've broken up with a lot of the bad things over the last year, and I'm
Mhm.
even more ready now.
So I'm curious. So you mentioned a really important point a few moments ago about how bariatric surgery is a tool, but it's not the end all tool. Why, in your case, do the surgery versus just continuing to do the lifestyle? For anyone listening who might be balancing that, how did you come to that conclusion?
I came to that conclusion because well, one, I've been looking at the surgery for a long, long time, and
Mhm.
I know for me it is the best option. Of as far as, yes, I can keep going on this path, but I need to. I know, it'd be great if in 2 years it's like, hey, I lost 200 pounds on my own. That's great. I think doing the surgery will give me a further peace of mind that
Mhm.
I'm doing the right thing, and that's what I need. So now it's like, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're just going to keep, because I don't look at the surgery, like I said, as anything. Some people call it cheating, and they're not. No, I mean, you're talking about saving your own life. I don't see how anyone can call anything cheating. Um,
Right. Anything that's going to improve your health, right?
exactly. So I don't, when I hear people be like, "Oh, you took the easy way," I'm like, You're not talking about like a trail, like life." So I don't really get that, but no, I think that for me, it's been a long time goal of mine. I got really bad off, and now that I'm really this close to it, it's where I'm going to go. And believe me, I've had those thoughts where and weight goes up and down. So sometimes, I've lost 5 pounds in a week, and I'm like, 5 pounds a week, I can do this on my own, no problem. And then it's like life hits me in the face, and I don't lose for 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, this is why we're still on looking at the weight loss surgery, because it's a further tool to get me to where I want to be health wise.
Mhm. So roughly, I mean, you mentioned insurance playing a role, but if all follows in according to plan, sometime later this year or early next year is kind of what you're looking at.
Well, yeah, we're hoping insurance plays a big role in a lot of things,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
learning every insurance is different, and sometimes when your work changes insurance,
Yeah.
so each insurance is different. We'll just leave it at that. Um,
Yeah. That's
but
fair.
insurance plays a big role in things, and so yes, I've decided this year. I'm looking. I'd love it to be this year. If it's early next year, that's fine too. You know, when I look, it is. I will say this: when I look how far I've come in a year and where I'm at, I don't let that kind of like the stress of that bug me because I know I'm on the right path. So I'm
Yeah.
like, fine. You know what? If it's early next year, if it's 6 months from now, well, guess what? I'll just keep losing weight for the next 6 months. I no longer let those kind of things get me mentally where I'm like, well, forget it, and
Right.
that's the one thing. So I took like that news kind of in stride. I was just like, you get angry, of course, where you're like, okay, it's delayed more than I wanted it to be. But at the same time, it is what it is. Keep working, keep focusing, keep doing me.
Yeah. And as stressful as that probably was, the way you're handling it is a testament to what you were saying earlier, that the surgery is a tool. It's not going to change what you're already doing. These habits you've been building, this lifestyle you're on,
Yeah,
whether the surgery happens today or a year from now,
exactly.
what happens before and after the surgery doesn't change. You're still doing the same plan.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like I said, it's one of those things in life where, and I think it's out of my control too.
Yeah.
That's one thing too. I can control how I respond to news and what I put into my body over it. I can't control what happens there. So,
That's a good point. So, and as you have already discovered, stress isn't always your friend. And so, if there's
yeah,
a way that you can control your stress in a way that it diminishes that, that's only to your benefit.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Josh, I feel like we could keep talking forever, but we'll have to have you back on here
yeah,
sometime. Yeah.
absolutely. So,
I just have one final question for
yeah.
you, but before we finish up today, and that is, for anyone listening who might be on a similar path, what advice would you have for them? Yeah, what advice would you have for someone who might be on a similar path, and if they're thinking about doing something like an immersive program like Hilton Head Health?
Well, and I have a lot of people that still ask me that question, and I always tell people the same thing is, and I know it sounds again cliche, but it's true. You're not at the end. Don't give up. Um, Hilton Head Health really did save my life. I mean, you guys saved my life. I fully believe that. I will tell people that till the day I die. That going there saved my life and put me back where I need to be on the right track. Um, the fully immersive program is great because it really changes your way of thinking. It's not, like we said, it's not just diet, and honestly, it's not just emotional. It's a fully, you wake up and it's your whole day, and you just feel good at the end of the day because you're learning everything you need to learn. You're learning while you eat. It's fully immersive, and it does so much for the mind and the body, which is truly what you need in weight loss. You know, that's what you need. You need the full mind and body experience, and that is one thing that Hilton Head Health does, and in a fun manner. I mean, it wasn't, it's not like you guys are just drill sergeants, running everybody to death. No, I mean, even exercise doesn't feel like exercise. Yoga, you're, walking, you're out on the beach. Look at all the activities and things. So, but the classes with the weight loss, with everything, played such a big role in changing how I thought. I mean, if you would have seen me day one versus day 30 there, night and day, you
I
know,
did. It was night and day.
night and day. But it wasn't just physically, because look, when you're my size, you're still big, but just the mental attitude and the positivity and the way things were. And that's why going to an immersive experience like that is so important. If you really want to make, to me, if you really want to make long term changes, that's where it starts.
Yeah, I always like to refer to it as like the training wheels for life, and it's
Yeah.
like the healthy choice is not just the easy choice here, but it's the only choice, and so it gets you into that pattern.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. 100% yes. So,
But I love what you said for your piece of advice. You said, "This isn't the end. Keep going." Is that how you phrased it? How did you phrase it?
Yeah. I mean, I always say this, like when you really feel like you've hit your end or the rock bottom, you're really not. I mean, you can keep going. Believe
Yeah.
if I can get out of and pull myself out of bed and do it, anyone can do it. Because I mean, I really was at the actual bottom
Mm-hmm.
where I didn't know what to do, but there is help out there, and that's the thing. And
Yeah.
you guys, like I said, you guys saved my life. I will tell people that until I'm blue in the face.
Well, you heard it from Josh himself. This isn't the end. Keep going. Josh, thank you so much for joining today. This has been awesome. I can't wait to have you back on.
Awesome. Yep, absolutely. Anytime.
Very cool. So, well, everybody listening, thank you so much for listening today. We hope you got a lot out of this. And remember, ultimately, this podcast is for you. So let us know what you thought of the episode today. What questions do you have for Josh, for us? Who else would you like to see on the podcast? Let us know. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.